out quite a bit. So I'll just continue with some of that just to get the outside edge and worry about the graphics on the interior in a minute. But just taking a look with the pen tool, if I click and drag, keeping this a straight line, this arch, I'm going to go in the midpoint to make that curve that sets this initial curve. I'm going to come up here and just drag the handle out a little bit. And as you can see, it's going to let me make this double curve right here. Am I still on your screen there? Yeah, okay. Thanks. And then drop it down this way. And this gives me the projected piece. Now, I could go through this and try to make this curve, or I could just show you an elliptical shape, which we'll do. So I'm just going to come all the way to the, well, I'll just go right to there, make it easiest. Click right there. Go to the midpoint of this curve, and come down to the side. And again, you can adjust all these different points, but there's the corner point to come up to this top piece here. You can see this one's a little too far, so I'm going to undo it and come up a little bit shallower onto this segment here. And that helps me make, you're trying to use the least amount of points to make these curves. And stretching it all the way across here. Like I said, this is kind of using that curve. I'm just zooming in so it's easier to see what you're doing. If the end point is a corner point, then it makes that a little bit easier to arch. And now I have this outlined image. And I'm just going to use the eyedrop tool to just click on some color up here just to show you the fill. And just undo that part. So inside he has these openings. So I'm just going to click in there, Command plus if you've been watching the navigate, spacebar zooms around the table there, and just kind of giving this a little bit more of a shape, and doing the same on this side. Now keep in mind, if you want to deselect when you have this pen tool highlighted, so I'm going to redo this one first of all. So it sets up this curve. Gives me that selection. Okay. So now, just to show this to you, these are the last pieces that were drawn, so they're on top of it. You're just holding the command. To get the arrow, I have the eyedrop tool selected just so you can see a difference in color. And it's got this piece connected. So you want to punch these sections out, so I'm just going to select it. And since he's got boxing gloves, it'll make it easier to punch. Here's the shape builder right there. I can just hover over this with the option key, and it's going to make that opening right inside there. So I'm going to take that fill off temporarily, and I'm going to zoom into where he has this record of boxing record. I'm going to just take the pen tool and click the baseline. The baseline is the bottom part of the type. And just click the arrow. So now this is just a line. But then inside the text tool, when you click and hold the mouse down, you'll see where it says type on a path. And when I hover over the path, it'll automatically insert the Latin text right there. So I can type in 175 with a hyphen, 19 for the best record, and ties of 6. And you can see that this is now type on a path right there. Up here at the top in the control panel, make sure you have the window, and you can see where you have control checked off. So that's going to give you the different functions of this. So I'm going to hit center, so it centers the type. And inside there's one called character. When I click on character, it gives me the font. So when I click up into here and the arrow next to it, I can pick a font size. The point size I can just increase, like so. And it gives me that dimension. And again, you can also change the color to be something into that, on that level. So anywhere up on top of this, that's going to be that section. So now he has a set of boxing gloves here. And again, you can use the pen tool or the pencil tool. Here's the pencil tool. And again, once you draw with this, it'll make that shape, when you double click on the pencil tool, it'll say you have these options to fill, keep selected, smooth points, accurate or smooth, all these different options to work with. So it gives you a little bit of ability to draw that. So if I draw this out, it's going to be that orange shape. Say I want a color of a swatch, so I can go into the segment under swatches, and down at the bottom of this you can extend or contract this piece. I already have some swatches selected, but I'm just going to click in here to show you the gradients. And if I just click on the top one, it shows up with the bright. If I right click into the menu, it just says a large thumbnail view, so I can see what that image is. And anytime I want one of these, I just click on it, and it'll add it in the swatches next to the gradients that are there. So say I like that one in here, left and right I can toggle through the library to see if there might be another color choice I might want to pick up on. So it's just kind of thinking, if I'm thinking of a boxing glove, for example, trying to give myself this selection. So now, this one I can hide, and now when I draw with this selection, this gives me the fill with the pencil tool, so it's already highlighted. If I go to the gradient window over here, all these windows, menus are located in the windows. This gives me the gradient editor. Up at the top it's linear or radial. So when I click on a radial, you can see what's happening with that. It creates that piece, but if I want to have it so it goes with a light source, I can move these on this gradient editor slider right here, putting the base tone, reflected light, get rid of this so the highlight is there. So now when I draw this, the highlight is in the middle. If I want to reposition this on here, there's a gradient tool on the toolbar, which I can click and drag, and that gives me that option. When this is highlighted, there's a bunch of little widgets out here that you can try. To try to explain them all, you just kind of have to get in there and see what happens, be experimental. And now I have this boxing glove, at least a color shape that I would use. These I can click with the Shift key and just delete them. So now when I see this boxing glove, I say, okay, I want to have the part that goes around the wrists, right there. I'm going to go around this big piece like this. Now you can see that this is still straight. This is the one that I edited, so I can hit the eyedrop tool, which is the letter I, and just click on that with this selected, and that changes it to that point. And now I can take the gradient. If I like the gradient that I've made, this changes the elliptical shape of it. Out here I can rotate it, and inside I can click and move it, so it looks like a glove. And if I like this gradient, up at the top, it'll show all the ones that I have, and down at the bottom you want to click and add that gradient to your swatches panel. So now it's still highlighted with the pencil tool. I'm going to go in and put the thumb piece in there. Just make sure that's not selected. That gives me kind of a glove in there. So again, I can do the wrist. And that's still round, so all I have to do is select it, hit the I for eyedrop tool, and that'll transfer over whatever one I just picked from. P for pencil tool, or N, I'm sorry. And then take a look at this shape, like so. Select it, just hit the I to get that guy. Again, the gradient is going to let me manipulate the shape of it. And I can also click and drag it from that center out like that. So all kinds of options that you can do once you get the hang of it. There's a thumb piece. And since these, every time you draw a shape, it's going to be behind it. I'm just going to bring it, modify and arrange, right click on it. It'll be arrange and bring to front, or use the keystrokes for it. Okay? And then there's this bounding box that you can make this glove. Okay, so I'll set this guy over here. So once I have it, I want to make a marquee selection around it and group it. Just right click or go to Object Group. So now I have these little set of boxing gloves here. And I can ungroup it if necessary. Just make sure I have this part grouped together. So I'll shift key these two and this guy and group it together. Now I can change it, distort it, make it a little bigger. Here's the boxing gloves. Okay. So this part, I'm just going to fill this with orange temporarily. That's going to be orange. And the font for this is going to be a dark red. Oops. Okay, so that gives me that part. This piece that has the section for all the stripes in it, it's going to be a little trickier as far as explaining how this happens inside, but just to show it to you, here's the pen tool. I'm just kind of drawing right through everything, and then Command to click off of it. And I'm going way out the outside edge, acts as a bleed. And that gives me these curves. Okay, so just going to shift key these pieces together. Okay. See if I can shift key that all together here. So there's that thickness. I'm going to group these together. That gives me this part. Now this outside edge is the tricky part. Copy that. So I just made it into a clipping mask is what they call it. So this is the overall segment. So again, when you go into the swatches, you'll be able to see some of the coloring or the gradients. So that'll give you a little bit of segment in there. So again, when you have this, you just hit the layer so you can hide everything that's not necessary. Hit the Tab key. Just do a screenshot of this. There you go.